Hey, welcome to the continuing winemaker series here at Wine of the Month Club. And boy, a great honor and pleasure to have José Balbo, right?
Indeed, José
Indeed,
Balbo.
Balbo here from Argentina, and he's on his way home today. Actually, stopped by to taste some wine, and boy, are we lucky he did that. And I have to catch my breath because I ran up the stairs. But we were talking a little bit about your career. You almost have done this all your life.
Yes, indeed. I was born into the industry. My mom and my stepdad are. My mom is the first female winemaker to get a degree and work professionally in the industry.
In Mendoza, not Mendoza, but Argentina.
In Argentina, yes.
Wow.
And my stepdad was is a very renowned viticulturist. So, yeah.
Well, that sounds like a match made in heaven, huh? She's
Yep.
the first female winemaker. Because there is even in America, there's very few female winemakers, and they're very celebrated as they become famous. And so here, are there other female winemakers in Argentina now?
Nowadays, more and more.
Yeah.
Yeah. But still, it's rare for the industry to have a female-run,
Yeah, I
female-operated
would think so.
winery.
So you said you're from Salta, which is like way up north, above Mendoza, no?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, one of the northernmost provinces in Argentina.
That's where you were raised.
That's where I was born, and that's where I was. We lived there for around 3 years. This is a very small viticultural area. It's
Yeah.
called Cafayate.
Yeah.
Famous for torrontes.
Yeah.
For torrontes. But by the time I was 3, my mother started getting worried that I wasn't gonna get an education, so we went back to Mendoza.
Oh, that's interesting. So
Yeah.
you went to I guess through high school and all that in Mendoza, and then you went.
Yes.
Now, did you go to college in Mendoza too?
No,
Or no?
I actually came here. I went to UC Davis
Yeah,
and
Great school.
graduated in viticultural enology.
Because I was laughing because he said, I deliberately did not want to lose my accent, your Argentine
Yes,
accent, because you
indeed.
could easily, right? After, 4 years or 5 years? What's that, 4
Definitely,
degrees?
after so much
Yeah.
involvement and studying
right.
English, I made a conscious decision at the end of my freshman year to keep this accent.
Did you stay the whole 4 years in America, or did you go back for the summertime?
No, I went back for the summertime once or twice.
Yeah, okay.
And then eventually, then I worked a little bit in France.
Oh,
and then
really? Where?
Went back in Pomerol.
Wow.
In Pomerol.
No wonder there's a Bordeaux character in these. I mean,
There's
they're
some
great.
influence there
Yeah,
too.
for
Yes.
sure, for sure. I just had a young winemaker named Phelps, Josh Phelps, and his father worked at Petrus.
Uh-huh.
And there was clearly a Bordeaux influence on the wine, so I think it's great. Well, let's taste some wine because this is very interesting to me. First was this Torrontes, and we discussed this. I found this fascinating. Here, I should pull that glass over here because I'm getting this wonderful lime Ricky character, which is a cocktail. I'm getting that wonderful Torrontes floral nose, but not in your face like a Salta version.
Definitely. What's different about this Torrontes is that it is a bi-regional blend. Half of the component comes from Salta, from Cafayate, but half of it comes from Altamira, which is one of the southernmost subregions within the Uco Valley. And this is a region that is cooler, has average temperatures that are much lower, and it brings this citrus character to Torrontes.
It's really great.
That brings it back to balance, makes it more refreshing, crisper.
It's probably it is the most refreshing Torrontes I've had. And what we talked about off camera was that it's not so cloying and deceiving because when you smell some Torrontes, particularly from Salta, all that tropical character comes in the nose and you don't quite get it through the palate or through the body. This one is nice and balanced all the way through.
Definitely,
It's really
Torrontes
good.
is a very aromatic grape, and it's
Yes.
one that when you're handling it in the cellar, you have to be very careful about how much you extract because it can be too aromatic. But if you can bring it in balance, it becomes a complex wine, aromatic, fruity.
So the grapes from Salta, they're your grapes or this contracted grapes or
No,
old
these
family
are
connections?
They're actually family connections. I have family from my dad's side that
Yeah.
are grape growers there, so we source from them.
And so do you complain about the grape quality or do you?
Of
No, I'm
course,
kidding.
all the time to lower the prices.
Yeah, exactly.
That's
Right,
how it
right.
works.
That's the way family operates, right?
Exactly.
This was another departure from what you just we're talking about. This is a blend now, and now it makes sense to me since you worked in Bordeaux. This is Torrontés and then Sauvignon Blanc and Semillon, which
Yes.
otherwise would be a Bordeaux blend. So,
Mm-hmm.
and this is named after your mother, or part of your mother's namesake, right?
Yes, exactly. So this is the Susana Balbo white blend. It's a wine under her signature family of wines, and is a more elevated version compared to the Criollos Torrontés. It's through the different varietals and the way we handle the lees aging and the fermentations, we were able to create a wine that's a little bit more complex,
Absolutely.
A little more density in the mid palate.
Yep.
Is a more gastronomic wine that has
It's
more depth
a
to it.
wonderful, it's a great expression of the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. A feminine wine to me with great complexity. It doesn't bark at you. It's just you want to taste it again because there's so many interesting things going on. And who would bring Sauvignon Blanc and Semillon and Torrontés together? Because I get the Semillon in there for sure.
definitely.
These are all estate grapes, or again,
No, these are all grapes from. This is a more focused wine in terms of geography. These are all grapes coming from the sub-region of Altamira.
now interesting because, and I'm going to ask you about organic farming in Argentina or biodynamic.
This is how this works. Now
Yeah,
that
that's your hat. That's your
Yeah.
tasting bucket.
Got it.
We're a little cheap around here. We can't afford that. So we've had winemakers in here from all over the world, but notably we had a gentleman from Patagonia, and that's why I asked you about it, Piero Incenza,
Oh, Piero.
of Barda.
Chakra, yeah.
Yeah, Chakra.
Uh-huh.
And he's a complete biodynamic farmer. What's your
Yes.
position on organic farming? Are you looking that direction? Is it already done? What's happening?
Yes, we're not certified organic, but we are sustainable
Yes, so
farming. So it's
the
very
practices,
similar. The
right.
practices are very similar, pretty much the same. The only difference is that we don't pursue the certification or the title. The reason for that is that in Argentina, the certification entities are not as the whole system is not as developed.
Right.
So it's kind of very bureaucratic and difficult to. You tend to lose a lot of focus just for the title,
Paperwork
the
and all that
paper.
stuff, right? Sure. Well, it's interesting because I'm fascinated by all the way to the biodynamic side, and I don't know its technicalities as well as one that does it every day. But I find the wines different, and I find them not necessarily better or worse. I just find them different. I find them fascinating. I do find them particularly more reflective of the terroir, and
Definitely.
and that is just to me is just really interesting. And the fact that particularly in Pinot Noir, which this has, right? Pinot Noir. And,
Yes, this is a 60% Malbec, 40% Pinot Noir blend.
So that's why you get a nice weight in this wine.
Yeah.
For rosé, and very competitive with its French counterparts for sure.
Definitely. Definitely.
I love the color too. Right? This is a 17, so it's the current vintage. It's fresh and young, and it
Exactly.
still shows that sort of copper color. Which, but the weight of it's just great. And the nose, as soon as you smell it, you know it's not Provence, right?
Yeah. No,
Which we don't want to be Provence, do we?
No, not at all. Yeah, the idea. This is a wine that has that Malbec
Yes,
influence
for sure.
to it, and the Pinot Noir really brings a little more complexity, but also the crispness.
Right.
The
Really
acid
good.
comes from Pinot Noir as well.
I want to put this in my rosé club. That's why I was checking the box to make sure it would fit, since you have a wonderful different bottle here.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to get into the reds, and we're going to start with the Susana Balbo Cabernet Sauvignon, which is not. Here we go. I got you a fresh glass over there for the reds. This is not 100% Cabernet. It's Cabernet and
Merlot. This is 95% Cabernet, 5% Merlot. And this is another one from my mother's signature line. And this Cabernet comes from the sub-region of Los Árboles in the Uco Valley. It's our style is that of a very juicy, fruit-forward Cabernet,
for sure.
but we try to pick at the right time so as to not overcook the fruit. We don't get. You're not gonna get jammy cooked flavors of fruit. It's our aim is to preserve the fresh fruit characters while tuning down the pyrrhizins and creating this velvety, juicy tannin character in the wine.
This has to go into. I have quite a few customers and two very close friends of mine that just built cellars in their home, and I'm going to suggest we bring in some of the reds for that because they're going to age really nicely. And I'm fascinated by them because I'm not sure I would choose them as Mendoza wines when I first taste them, and I think that's a testimony. I think it's testimony to your career and what you've done. And the juiciness and the balance of the Merlot and the Cab, it's just a great expression. The color's like really cool. Love the nose too. Sometimes you can tell, right? Like right out of the shoots, oh yeah, this is Chilean,
Right.
Carmenere or something.
Right.
But I would have pegged this one and the next one as Bordeaux. Maybe that's testimony to my palate. I don't know. So.
Yes, we have a focus on really high mountain, high altitude mountain type of vineyards. So through altitude, we're able to get into cooler climates, cooler microclimates, and in that way we preserve acidity better. So the profile of the wines and the styles of these wines is very different from what you will find in the valley floors.
Yes.
Which is where the bulk of the wines that come from Mendoza are from.
That would explain it right there, because particularly this is another interesting thing. You've got Cab, Malbec, you've got all the Bordeaux varietals except Merlot in this particular bottling, but Petit Verdot in Argentina, I mean,
Yeah.
who's ever heard of that?
Yes, there are not many plantings.
No.
It's definitely a small percentage of what's planted in Mendoza is Petit Verdot. But this is a wine coming from our estate vineyard in Agrelo. Agrelo is at 800 meters in elevation. It's clay-based soils, and yes, it's a Bordeaux blend. The idea is to play by these rules, but to show the local expression of what we can get.
Another cellar star.
Yes, it's a very it's a very popular wine.
Are
Here.
you familiar with where to go? I had a winemaker in Rod Bent, and he freaked over this Carrascal, Argentinian 1977 Carrascal. You heard of it?
I've heard of it.
If you see the label, you might know what happened to it.
But have not.
He goes, "Do you understand this bottle's worth $2,000? It's a 1977. My dad featured in 1985.
Really?
It's part of
Wow.
our collection."
I've been sitting here.
I'm like, "No, I didn't know that." He goes, "Oh, this is like Robert Parker touted this as one of the greatest wines ever to leave Argentina in the 80s."
wow.
I'm like, "Wow, glad I have a bottle." Not the finest.
That's a pretty rare item. Yeah.
All right, so that was the Bordeaux blend, and now we're on the Nosotros, which is we.
Nosotros
remember
means ourselves.
Yeah, ourselves, right?
We. Yeah.
I remember my Spanish a little bit.
Good. Those Spanish lessons pay off.
After like college, 8th grade through 2 years of college, that's all I remember.
There you go.
So this is a Malbec, 100% Malbec.
Yes, this is 100% Malbec, and this is our icon wine. Every year, this project acts as a register for us to understand what we consider is the best batch of Malbec for a given vintage. So when we look back and we do verticals, we say, okay, this is what we were thinking. This is the style that we considered was the best at a given time. So in general, it's a very expressive, very deep wine. It's very profound, has a lot of layers, and it always has to be 100% Malbec.
It's absolutely gorgeous. One of the greatest expressions of Malbec I've ever tasted, and I taste a lot of Malbec. And I'm noticing on the back label it's unfined, unfiltered. You chose that reason, to continue the extraction, to make sure all the extraction is tasted. You don't want to...
Definitely, it's unfined and unfiltered because at this level, even slightly fining or filtering takes away from the tannin structure of the wine. So we try to leave it
So good.
as raw as we can.
So when you do an unfined, unfiltered wine, and the wine is settled in the barrel, and you're pumping it out of the barrel, you try not to disturb it.
Definitely.
Is that true?
Yes.
So it's a top pump.
Hmm.
And how much do you end up at the bottom of the barrel that you just don't use?
waste.
That's not all waste, right? Use
Yeah.
it for something.
No, yeah. You just relocate it into another barrel, but it's not a lot. It's just it might be 1-2% of the total volume of a barrel.
It's really great. And you know, I taste so many Malbecs, and some of them are very directional, very spicy, very lean. But this one, it's got it all going on. I mean, it's phenomenal. I can see why it's your flagship.
Yes.
And it's in barrel.
Yes. So this is up to 2010. This saw 150% of barrel time. So that means the whole batch stayed in a new barrel for 12 months, and then it was transferred to another barrel for 6 more months.
Wow.
So it was a
neutral
very oak intensive wine.
Yeah, but you don't get that.
No. So during the years and up from 2011 and
This is 11,
onwards,
yeah.
it's only 12 months. But the wine has the tannin structure to really bring it to balance. It never loses the fruit. If you do this type of barrel treatment to a batch that is not as doesn't have the depth
Yep.
or the complexity of tannins, the oak will quickly take
lose
over.
it, yeah.
You know, but
Yeah, it becomes too prominent. I don't.
Yeah.
I
No,
just
and
see it
this
as
is
accent
very
here. I don't
balanced.
see it as the primary focus of what you do.
No, not at all. Not at all. It's a very balanced wine, and you're not gonna see a detachment from oak. If we were to see that at the winery, we wouldn't release the wine. So it's always very, very
In
integrated.
2011 was the current vintage, so the 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, they're all
Yes.
somewhere in the
They're all
winery.
stored at the winery. Yeah.
So here's an interesting comment before we get off the camera here. I had a gentleman in here from the National Basketball Association, and this is years ago, and he was pitching a wine that was vegan, okay? And everybody asked me, well, what does that mean, vegan? I didn't know wines were vegan.
Vegan
I said,
wine,
well,
right.
they use egg whites to fine it sometimes, and that becomes, non-vegan.
Right.
So this is unfiltered, unfined. Is there any reason that this is not a vegan wine?
No, this is definitely a vegan
This is a
wine.
vegan wine,
Because
see?
we don't use egg whites to
Right.
filter.
So what's funny is this guy's like 6'11". He's this huge man. He says, I'm having trouble selling this in the steakhouses. I go, well, yeah, because it says vegan on the label. What do you think?
Right.
But here's a wine that would be vegan. And
Yes,
This
yes.
is my point, actually, that if you put vegan on there, people are going to say, what does that mean?
Exactly.
Because we don't know what it means.
We don't advertise.
And you effectively have done that by putting unfiltered, unfined, right? So
Pretty
same
much.
thing, so.
Yeah.
Anyways, pleasure having you here, Jose. I appreciate your time. I hope you have a safe travels back. And next time
Thank
you're
you.
in, let's tilt the glass again.
Fantastic.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.